we can use RoboArchitect to issue web service requests by using the connect command. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to use the connect command to open a ticket in ZenDesk. So what I have back here is my ZenDesk portal here. We have no tickets in our queue. We're going to create one using the ZenDesk API. And I have my script here. So again, just a one-line script, RoboArchitect. We're going to call the connect command. We're going to specify the destination, the output response that we're going to receive in output.text. We're going to pass in a config file, which I'll show you in a second. This is just going to contain things like the URL that we're connecting to, the username and password that we're going to use. We can also use an encrypted password file. And if you reference the video that we have on generating encrypted passwords with RoboArchitect, you can just pass that file right in. Query. So the response that we get back from ZenDesk is going to be a JSON response. If we're just interested in certain fields from there that we want to use in downstream automation, we can call a query where we can essentially write a SQL against the JSON data. You can reference our unstructured SQL video that we'll be posting shortly to see how to write SQL against JSON data. And so all we're going to do is once we submit this ticket, we want to get back what the ticket ID is going to be. That way we could, reference it later and say, we opened a ticket, the ticket ID is X. We're going to specify a delimiter of pipe. We're only pulling one field, so it's not going to matter what we push in here. Our request type, we're going to issue a post request. The body of the post is going to be a JSON bit here, where we are specifying our ticket subject and the body. Just make sure that when you specify the JSON that you're escaping any quotation marks in here, because that can mess up the command line command here. So we're just going to give a subject of automated ticket by RoboArchitect, and we are going to put in the body RoboArchitect is the best, because it is. We're going to put our media type, application JSON, and we're just going to use the standard info level of logging. So once we run this, we have our logs, which can show, so this 6 is the ID of the ticket that we just opened, and our command is done. If we go into output, we're just going to see one field here, the number 6, which is going to be our ticket ID. And if I go into ZenDesk, I'm going to see that we just created a ticket. And it just has as the body, RoboArchitect is the best, just as we specified. And lastly, I'll show you how to generate this using RoboArchitect UI, which is the graphical interface to RoboArchitect. As we mentioned in some of the other videos here, we'll just call it out again in case you're watching this one as the first one. Our URL to access this application, villanianalytics.github.io/RoboArchitectUI. And we're just selecting the connect command. We are editing our configuration file where we're going to specify the URL, the username, and the password. So that password that you enter here is going to be plain text. If you want the encrypted password, you just want to first run the RoboArchitect password utility, generate an encrypted password file, and then you can reference that file within this password file here. You can upload a configuration file if you want, and it'll pull in the parameters for you. We're going to specify as our media type application JSON. Our output file will be output.txt. We're issuing a post request. Source file is if we're uploading any sort of file to the web service. We're not in this case, so we're just going to leave it blank. Our body is going to be the JSON that we're passing in. And again, remember, escape your double quotes. And the way to escape it using a Windows batch script is to just double them up. And that way it will not mess up the request that you have. I'll just do till there. I'm not going to actually run this. Our filtering type, if we want to pull back, just select data from the response. We have two options here. We can use JSON path, or we can use SQL. So the SQL is a language that we invented in order to make it easier to access JSON data, where you can write SQL against it. We'll have a whole video on how to do that. So just take my word for it at the moment that essentially it's a very simple language. When you get the JSON results back, this is what your JSON will look like coming from a web service request. We get a whole host of information here. And what we're looking to do is take just the ticket ID number here. So what we can write in our SQL is just select ticket ID from audit, and that's just going to pull this one field back from our results. That way we can then pass that into subsequent automation if we want to have that at the end. Our delimiter, if we were specifying multiple fields, this is how we would delimit each column. So I just put pipe. Since we're just pulling back a single field, the delimiter really doesn't matter what you put. And no custom log, and our output will be a Windows batch script.